For sure, then I hopped in the booth. I was walking, I jumped in the coupe. Out the bank money, sticky like glue. With gorillas, I'm still in the zoo.
Memphis beats, man, some of the easiest beats to make. And let me tell you, like, recently I started a Thai beat channel, you know, with these type of beats, and they're so easy to make and they sell a lot. So yeah, if you want to learn how to make these Memphis beats, watch until the end. I'm gonna be dropping a lot of sauce, but let's get into it. Starting off with the first sound, like 9 times out of 10 these type of beats would use some type of piano. So this is why I pulled up Addictive Keys, and I love using this drive-by preset, and I lay down this melody. These type of melodies are extremely simple. So originally I started in the key of C sharp minor, and what we have here is basically a simple triad chord. But what I did was I took the third from the first chord and I pitched it up 2 octaves. I added this note, which basically creates a lot of tension, because whenever you use these notes which are next to each other, it makes it sound a little bit more dark. And then I added this note, so basically we have this little walk down melody. I added the 5th note, like from here I pitched it up an octave, and then we have the root note, once again pitched up an octave. Basically we just have a simple triad chord which has been broken down. What I did next was I just took this chord, I pasted it over here, and then I pitched it down 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And since I wanted to switch up the chord and, you know, make it transition into the next one, I took the A sharp note from here and I dragged it down here, shortened it a little bit, and this is basically the whole pattern. So moving on, I pitched it down 2, so 1, 2, and then just to add a little bit more texture, I added this elastic pitch. And what I'm doing here is I'm basically pitching it up twice, so I'm bringing it back to the original key. I added this EQ, and like, remember, whenever you're making melodies, you want to shape each sound, so you know every single sound has a certain space. And in this case I wanted to add something which is, you know, has a little bit more high end and a little bit high mids, and I cleared off the high frequencies here, and of course I just took out the low end so we can have some more space for the bass. To add a little bit more dimension to the piano, I added this Valhalla vintage reverb. And the other thing which I did was this cool little texture trick. So basically I'm just gonna show you what I mean by that. So I took the piano, I selected route to this track. Basically we have both signals, you know, playing in the 2 different tracks, and after that I pulled out this EQ, so I cut out all the frequencies of the piano, so we have only this playing, like only this part. And what I did next was I added this delay. So basically what this is doing is we have the original piano, like we have the full signal, and then we routed it to here, and basically we're just applying effects only to these specific frequencies here for the piano. And it's very subtle, but you can actually hear it if you listen closely. For the second layer, I added the synth accent. Now the whole idea with this synth accent here is basically I just want to emphasize this whole delay texture thing, which, you know, we have a sound which fades in and fades out. And the way I made this synth accent was I pulled up this Matrix V12 and I'm using this wall shimmer preset. And basically what I have here is just a little arpeggiation of the root note and the 5th, you know, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And after that I just have it pitched down to follow the chord progression. After that, I basically just exported this to an audio file, I chopped it up, and as you can see I set the audio to basically fade away and fade into the next one. I wanted to emphasize the mid frequency which we previously freed and the piano, if you remember. So I'm cutting out everything except the mid frequencies, which I'm boosting. Then once again we have this Valhalla vintage reverb, and I have pancake, which is, you know, just moving the sound from one ear to the other, basically giving a sense of dimension. And finally another EQ, once again boosting that mid frequency range. Since we already have the piano and the dark synth, I wanted something which was gonna push the whole sound into this more dark and orchestral vibe. So I open up Contact and I'm using this Chris Hine ensemble strings, and what I did here was I took the root notes and I pitched them up like twice in different octave ranges, and it sounds like this. As far as effects go, I cut out the low end, which we're gonna be adding a bass guitar later on, and I boosted the high end, which, if you remember, like we cut out from the piano just so we can have something in the high end. I have this Valhalla vintage reverb, and remember, like, you want to be using the exact same plugins across all the layers because you want to put them in the exact same room, like, so they sound good together. And now the sample needed some low end, so what I did was I opened a flex, like always, and I'm using the flat wound edgy preset, and I lay down this pattern, which basically is just following the root notes, and then we have these little notes in between just to transition between the two chords. So since a lot of these Memphis beats don't even use 808s, like they mostly rely on sub basses and bass guitars and stuff like that, I wanted to process the bass in a way that we're gonna be using it later on with the drums. So first off, I started with this fruity fast distortion just to saturate the bass a little bit more. After that, I added this Guitar X6 just to add a little preamp to the bass. After that, I added the CQ, which is pushing a lot of the low mid frequencies up and, you know, just giving this punch to the bass like an 808. And as you can see, just 4 layers, like the melody doesn't have to be complicated as long as you're using good sound selection. Now moving on to the drums, I'm using all the sounds from my Wave Essentials drum kit. You can go get that for free along with 2 other drum kits, like one is for R&B and the other one is for more generic trap stuff. But yeah, you just want to keep things simple, so I started with this 2-step hi-hat and I have this one single row which plays here and here. After that, you want to have snares which hit like really hard. Moving on, I have this open hat which just plays on the 1. Like, you don't want to add too much percussion, like you just want to keep the drums as simple as possible, like the main focus is the artist. And finally, I just have this cowbell as a little percussion on the side. So when you add everything together with the kick, which plays this extremely simple kick pattern, the drums sound like this. Before we move on to the final result, like I'm gonna play the whole beat with some vocals so you can see how it sounds like a final song. Real quick, I want to talk a little bit more about mixing. So all I did here was just level the sounds. Like, you don't have to do too much. I say this in every single video of mine, but as long as you're using good sounds, all you gotta do is just level them, and you know, you can pan them to the left, to the right. Like, it's just a matter of taste. But the most important part to getting your drums to hit hard is basically just leveling and using good sounds. You can see I have nothing on my master. I just have this soft clipper and the imager, which basically just monos everything under 200 Hz. So yeah, there's no secret to having hard drums. Like, you just want to use good sounds and leveling. And now let's hear the final result.
Left a shoulder and I hopped in the booth. I was walking, I jumped in the coupe. Out the bank money, stick it like glue. With gorillas, I'm still in the zoo. I can't get out the streets cause I love them. Why you still in the trap if you buzz? You on on fire, you hot as a oven. Fuck a bitch cause they come out a dozen. I can't fuck with you, dog, you might tell on something. I go look up my name, I ain't tell on nothing. I can't hang no more, I'm busy. Elevator upgrading my image.